crazy how much propaganda there's out there. It's slowly starting to go away. Dude, people are really trying to fucking get all uptight about the Ivory Immortal. I mean, you gotta do this. You gotta secure the free world. We're all trying to figure out that China's got all the little secret little agents everywhere, and I'll tell you what, to be generous, wipe them all out. Yeah, wipe all these people out. Get rid of all of them. And people keep bashing the United States. Like, the United States is the only country actually defends the world from tyranny.
Be careful there. Porzin is not known for their rigorous work safety standards.
So, kind of got people don't.
Tighter than an Eskimo's nutsack. Target eliminated. Waste of space.
Take a break. You've earned it.
Too many knocks to the head. That's for the trouble.
That was textbook perfect.
There's a story here, a real nasty one.
But yeah, it's getting to that point where, like, we're starting to see, like, Gen Z starting to change, and Gen Z starting to notice that there's just a lot of corruption. Like, there's always been corruptions. Not everyone's gonna see the truth. Like, I'm happy I got out of it. I'm very happy I got out of it.
Ugly sack of guts. Disgusting waste of flesh. Cutting him down. Lumbering track. Buck up, my lads. This war ain't over yet.
Healing so nice.
I can taste the rot.
I got more bolts left. But yeah, they're seeing a lot of change. People are starting to notice they're starting to actually use their fucking brains. Dude, people are emotionally driven. When I started like really researching like the demonic entities that are always around us, and that how they always torment us to make us believe in shit that's not true. When people are catching themselves on fire, people are mutilating themselves. I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with all these people? Why are they just so fucking stupid? Then you start thinking about it, you're like, oh, that's the reason why.
Not much room to maneuver here.
Maybe would do this stupid shit. It's because they're programmed. It's a sort of brainwash. It truly is. It's a fucking
Everybody done
massive
shopping?
brainwash.
Hope so.
Never underestimate a soldier. Turn out the noise before I lose it.
Don't forget to ammo up.
But yeah, it's just like understanding like how life is and that with people and that when you get to certain things. It's like,
I could
like
do this
you
all day.
working hard and stuff like that. Like the faster you learn how it is, like the real world, the better off it becomes. And you know, for some people it takes longer than that. Like, you can't stop your Asian. You can't stop Asian. But you can stop your stupidity. You can stop the way that you think. If you don't think at all, that is. Which, a lot of people don't. A lot of people just sit there, especially nowadays, the internet's full of poisonous
Sorry,
people.
you're on mute.
And they sit there all day. And they want to hate on people because they might be different than them. They never look at it that they're just... Fuck, they're just like them. You can't even make this shit up.
Okay, hope everyone got what they needed.
That's revolting, that is. Don't think they died of natural causes. Well, ain't you lot the bloody wonder? Little something to even the odds.
But yeah, one of the things I have to realize, especially when I start being reborn, is I start looking at life from the actual critical perspective. No, it's not just about me.
Enemy intel denied.
Selfishness is what leads people into, stupidity. You see selfish people and that, and they're all like, oh, we shouldn't care about anybody else but ourselves. And I'm like, well, yeah, to a certain extent, we should be, worry about everybody else. That's the biggest thing. Right there. If you have power, you have to use it. So the United States has the power to change the fabric of the whole world. Instead of our society fighting against each other, we should unite and fight against the only thing we should fight against is the wicked, the demons, the killing of innocents. It's the only thing we should fight for. And that's one of the biggest things that, some people just like, I want to,
Get all your gear.
that people stop doing. And they sit there and there's like, they make up these excuses for it.
Enemy coming out the bloody ceiling.
Well, what could you?
And like, sit there, but you want to fight. Yeah, we should.
Zed neutralized. Flesh puppet. Oof, that stench though. Strong.
That's definitely one of the things that people potentially why our country is all like pent up protective. Our country's always been protective. Our country's always been trying
Let's
to be
not end up crispy, everyone.
When you look back in the history now, it's like we traditionally have dropped off because of the poisonous of bullshit, and only, you know, corrupt people see
this place is a bloody charnel house.
Like you look throughout history, like there's, it's like where's all this corruption come from? Well, it all comes from money. It all comes from, you know, Lucifer. You know, Lucifer is the main driving force of all these things that are terrible happening in our world. He's a driving force of sin. And when you let sin keep on producing more and more of it through social media, through the music we play and that, like I can't even stand listening to the artists that these kids listen to. Like they listen to straight up garbage. It's just constant fighting, constant tyranny.
25% down. Let's keep it going.
It's just so much fucking stupidness.
You've made a nice dent in the
They all try to sit there trying to be like, oh well, we're trying to do all kind of shit. You know, you listen to that's like all I care about is money. You didn't have wealth. The thing is about wealth. Wealth is very contagious.
Walking second or puke.
And when there's Powerball with everything, so you have a lot of it.
Keep making them, I'll keep breaking them.
Just say, like, you have a lot of strength. You can use that strength for wickedness or for righteousness. You have to choose. It doesn't matter. You cannot do nothing with it. Of course, you can just sit there and just dick around and not do shit with them.
What the bloody hell happened here?
But you can say a lot of people tend to do. Some really strong, you know, mentally, physically, or even spiritually people out there that don't use their gifts for anything. But then there's some people that do.
Christ, you know? I can hear myself think again.
Like, I believe I'm a very, you know, spiritually heightened person. You know, I'm rather intelligent when it comes down to certain things. You know, I'm rather, you know, strong for an average man. You know, try to, like, keep that shit flowing. Because you don't have it, you want to get it. If you're a weak individual, you want to be strong. If you're not intelligent, you want to be smarter. But the biggest thing is how are you going to make it adapted to the world around you? If you're weak, you want to get strong. Are you going to be weak? And then when you get stronger, you're still going to be, wicked with that. And I mean, wickedness is a form of weakness. Are you going to be able to keep up with the bullshit? Are you going to side with the devil and be selfish? When you look at all the world's powerful people, you can see which ones are selfish. They keep things to themselves. They don't want to grow things. They establish power through pretty much wickedness, evil, killing people, taking away people's freedoms. So when you see people that do those things, you want to look at it like, why do you want to take away people's freedoms? And they'll probably say, well, if you don't join us, then you won't have freedom, but you have to sign a contract with us. You have to sign your free will away to get free will. So no mortal in history can take your free will away. God grants us free will stands, no matter what people say. Yeah, you can do whatever you want to do. That's why there's laws. That's why you're governed by certain things. You can't be a fucking dumbass. That's why God gives us the 10 Commandments. He gives us the laws that actually govern our whole entire world. Yes, mortals create their own laws, depending on the era. But all the laws stand by the basic laws that God gave us. All law comes from the basics of the 10 Commandments. People can make different ones, of course. Society changes. Humans want to rule in a specific way. But when you look at a country like United States, that was, built on pushing against tyranny, pushing against wickedness. People don't remember our history as much as they want to. They say various things. Some Americans say, slaves was bad and that, but we're the first country that abolished slavery, and then they stepped back. They're like, well, yeah, but it should have never happened in the first place. Say, you can always argue about something, because people actually don't want change. A lot of people live in a tyranny type mindset where they never want change. They want things to stay the same. They want things to stay like the past. And you gotta say, well, why is that? Say, well, because some people just don't like change. Some people hate change. And the number one reason why, because change is hard. To be able to change something, it takes time. It's hard. It hurts my muscles. You gotta go through a pain cycle. And some people in this world can't deal with pain worth shit. They get very upset. They get very uptight. They sit there and they get stupid upset. And they say, well, I don't have to go through all this. They said, pain's inevitable. Well, let me pop some fucking Advil because it hurts so bad. When you can't deal with pain, that just means that you're weak-minded. I got a lot of people sit there, they want to sit there and pop Advil because their head hurts a little bit. Okay, dude, drink some water. Drink some water. Do some stretches. Do these things. You're letting pain take over your body, and you want to numb it as fast as possible. And people make up excuses for this shit. It's like, I never get fucking headaches. Headaches are leading to like bad blood flow.
Don't think they died of natural causes.
You know, if you're out of shape, you know, your cardiovascular system sucks ass. Maybe you shouldn't have fucking, you know, your blood be like fucking butter.
Strides came 25% down.
You're having butter fucking blood is terrible for you. But you have to say what leads to most of these things. Like I said, what leads to most of these things is, well, stupidity. The refusal of there's countless people out there that just refuse to learn stuff. And you gotta think, it's like, what? Why don't people want to learn? Why don't you get excited about something new? Why don't you get excited about like sitting there and be like, wow, that's amazing, I want to learn something from that. It's self-doubt. You hate yourself. And you gotta think even more past that. This is psychology 101. This is how the devil actually does work. Why do you hate yourself? Why do you doubt yourself? Because you have an image in your head that you can't fix. You have an image in your head that you can't fully comprehend or fully deal with. And people deal with these things day in, day out. And then you wonder why that there is a lot of issues. It's like, well, fuck yeah, there's a lot of issues. Because you're choosing all this shit. You're choosing to believe in something that's not fucking true, so you have no idea what it is. And when people guide themselves, they guide themselves with something that is guidable. The only thing that's guidable is something or someone that knows all things. Go to God and those people that know stuff.
Halfway done. Keep the pressure on.
They gave no wisdom because of super God. There's nothing in this world. Nothing in this world is going good. All the thoughts that we have, all the things that have been happening, they were already created. Look at history. Have we gone into all the things that happened?
One big bastard who won't be back.
All we do is take a little step forward with what's already been done. We just make it slightly better. And then, you know, 100 years goes by, 50 years goes by, you know, 200 years go by. We just
Anything else to say?
on top of the stuff that we're doing. Like, look at the cities that are built. You know, there's a lot of people out there, conspiracy, you know, theorist people that want to think, you know, some of the cities are already, you know, that when we came over to the country, that a lot of, you know, the cities were already built in that.
Don't get roasted.
And they look back in the history
I do enjoy
books.
that.
They look back in the pictures from way back then, when we colonized America. They were thinking that people have already been here before. They said, well, yeah, the Indian tribes and all that stuff, and that, the actual Americans. And like, we get lost in our own history now because, you know, who makes up the history? The victor does. But if history is, you know, not completely 100% correct, then how do you know what's true or not true? That's why when people read the Bible hasn't changed. People say, well, they changed the stuff, and the Bible's been the same for the last, like, 300 years. You know, it takes time to gather scripture and put down stuff, and that, especially when it comes from, you know,
my
such
God,
an
what a mess.
almighty, you know, well, the only almighty thing out there. God. It takes time.
Well, that makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck. High noon to you. That's how we did it in 14.
Like history buffs now, people actually like study, research like ancient history now. They also
Festering
see the
wretch.
connection.
Hey, Max, you're ready. Pains for the weak. Oof, almost worth getting hurt for that. Patch up, press on.
A little hard. That's all.
Restock now. Pod is open.
Wow, perfect for me. fire didn't do too bad. I'll go back and get my level 26 stuff. Give me some food. Yeah, I'm fucking hungry. What do I get here? Reloading weapon. Damages due by enemies. Applying parries. That's burning enemy takes triple damage, but are exhausted. Okay. What's this one? Bash deals 100 damage. This bonus doubles when people are burning. Ooh. What's this one do? Enemies killed by heat weapons have a 30% chance. Explode on death. Dealing 100 something damage or 20%. I kinda like the bash. Tell you the honest truth. Does my bash damage now does 250 damage. That's basically like a shotgun hit to a certain extent. That's kind of crazy. Infinite ammo duration. It's almost up. Cool. Yeah, to give me something. I got a whole bunch of stuff that should come. Wow, good man. Cool. Yeah, get all my stuff. I'm getting from my kitchen eats. I'm getting, of course, my buffalo chicken mac and cheese. Getting 3 of those. Getting my chicken tortilla tacos, whatever the fuck it's called. 3 of those. I'm getting the cheeseburger bowl, which is fucking actually good. And then I'm getting the XL. Yay. getting that stuff probably by at least. Today is Monday. I'll be getting it probably by Tuesday now. That's what I do for my outing. Instead of going out and spending like $50, $60 on one meal, I just buy like 10 meals for like $90, and I pig out on those 2 days because I gotta do legs and that. I know I'm gonna have to eat a shit ton of food. So I gotta hit these legs up and that. I think I'm gonna do. We'll do 5.
VTOL's ready. Remember to have your flammable and breakable items packed separately in a see-through plastic bag. Bon voyage.
Gotta try that new bash. Bash me some bitches.
Enemy down.
Oh, that's one big splatter.
Save me.
Load up, folks. Pod's open.
I need to start wasting my fucking whole.
They're a quarter down. Good work, team.
Hell of a burn.
Enemies down.
Bye.
dad's got a some guy that works for us. I talked about this before, not, but like some dude works for us. He's like a massive, like liberal dumb fuck. Like he's a super, like he's not a bad person, honestly, but his mindset is like fucking retarded. Like the way he thinks and that is just stupid as fuck. And I always want to talk about, you know, who you hang around with is who you normally become. And like when I have people that are just like sitting there like, oh, they're not bad people. And every time someone says someone's not a bad person, and they say it in a way that's more like condescending of it, you always want things like, let's say they're not bad people, but they do they do bad stuff. They do really stupid stuff. And that's what it normally comes down to. Because the way I personally look at these things, and I look at, you know, from various perspectives, but like when it comes down to like hatefulness and wickedness, it only has one goal. It has one goal: to destroy what God gives us with His love. And people always say, how can God love me when I don't get what I want? And I'm like, well, do you ever try to perform to be able to reach those goals? There's petty goals out there. With free will, we have full responsibility over everything that we choose in our lives. We could choose to be humble and be, you know, healthy, be righteous, or we choose to be wicked, on drugs, fat, stupid, you know, and stuff like that. It's just like, you know, not everyone's gonna be this idealistically perfect, you know, human being. Like looks, for instance. People have a huge problem with facial structures. They have huge problems with attraction. You know, it's like, oh, I got, you know, get on steroids and peptides and all that stuff. And you can do whatever the fuck you want to do. But once you get to that peak, and that's why when you talk to older people, I talk to older people like, man, it's like, yeah, it's like I tried everything in that. It's like he's one guy at the gym, he's always been ripped. You know, he says I take testosterone and that, you know. You know, I still do a lot of fucking stuff in that because I want to maintain my healthiness. I want to have this body and have this strength. You know, he does what he wants to do. He says, yeah, I go on a cruise and that, you know, I look better than, you know, guys in their 20s and shit. I'm like, well, I mean, when you describe what betterness is, I mean, if you're an older man, you've been lifting weights for 30 years, of course you're going to look good. You're going to have a body on you because your muscles are going to grow, your fat's going to decrease, your testosterone's going to go through the roof. You know, but that's just the way he looks at that. But he's being more humble about it. He's just like, I just don't see a lot of people are trying to, like, do stuff in that. And he complimented me in that. And he's like, you know, he told me, he's like, you're going through the thought process of trying to understand stuff. It's like, you know, he's like, these are the things that work for me. And he was telling me about my skin disorder and that. He's like, you know, do olive oil and that. You know, you got to clean up your gut first. And that's when I started learning about that stuff. That's where wisdom comes from. It comes from people that already know stuff. But who's the first one that knew everything? God knows everything. So when you pray to God, and this is why how prayer actually does work, you know, at least, you know, for what the Bible states and how I went through the cycles of understanding. When you pray, you want to pray for wisdom so you can understand the life that God already created. And then you start learning it, and you start putting it to the books. You start researching that. And there's always someone out there that always knows more than you. You want to learn how to lose weight? A lot of people say, fast when you wake up. Drink a cup of coffee. I heard all this. Drink a cup of coffee. Sit there and wake up. Let your body go through a fasting period. Your stomach might hurt. You know, of course you gotta drink a good amount of water and that, you know. Your stomach might hurt in that, and you might go through cycles of pain. But pain is inevitable. You're gonna have pain. That's the biggest action that Jesus always seems to talk about. He's like, your flesh is weak. Your spirit is strong. Your spirit's internal. Your flesh is not. But when you start to look at how you can tame your flesh, it's to basically say, hey, I'm going to control my pain. This is why people get high all day. They can't control pain. They want to control it through substances. And so you can't control it when you give into the pain release. You have to go through the plane. You have to teach yourself. That's where you get, tempted. Your flesh gets tempted. When you get hungry, that's temptation. It's not to say you don't need to eat, but when you're already fat, you're a glutton. You don't eat because you're hungry. You think that you're hungry. Your stomach growling means your stomach's empty. Yes, but doesn't mean that you need nutrition. It's just your stomach's empty. The fat that you have on you is excess nutrition that builds up on your body because you're eating so much. That's why there's always got to be a balance. And so for people that have weight loss issues, literally, try not to think about food. If you think about food, think about how I can work to get that food. That's why when Jesus talks about it, they say people don't eat unless they work. Why? Because it has to be a balanced transition of energy. You can't have balance if you sit there and eat, 5,000 calories a day without no work. That's not to say you shouldn't starve yourself. It's not about that. People go to that negative point, well, I should starve myself. And I'm like, motherfucker, you don't live in Ethiopia. You don't live in fucking shitty parts of the world that their government literally does not care about them, and that their technological advances are just not heavy enough. And I talked to this one guy from South Africa. They just got fucking like DSL and shit. They just got basic internet. And this was when we were, getting close to hitting like 5G and shit. Exactly. Other countries, they don't have the technology that, that Americans have. And when you talk to these people, it's like, you guys are just spoiled. No offense. I'm like, yeah, we are fucking spoiled. We're so damn spoiled, we don't even know. We create war with our own people just because we're fucking stupid. Because we're so social medialized that we want to believe every single thing that people say because they say, oh, I'm with you. You ever made me think that people that say that stuff, and I listen to, we'll talk about like the feminist world now. I listen to a lot of these twat waffle dudes, and these dudes I honestly don't fucking like at all. I think they're terrible fucking men. They can go fuck themselves, and hopefully they change and get wiser now, but most of the times these guys are emotionally just fucking incompetent fucking twats. And I work with men that are like that. They think they're superior men because they're con artists. They know how to woozy the words and that. And women fall for that. You bitches are fucking stupid for that. You women fall for con artist asshole guys that are the manipulators. They're not the guys that you actually want. They're the guys that you eventually get because, well, first off, you're desperate, and second off, you don't understand how actually real men actually work. Real men are not supposed to be con artists, manipulation of emotions. And most of these guys that are like that are massive fucking perverts. I mean, I could be a pervert because I am a man. Being a pervert's not a bad thing. Now, if you take it to the extent that people don't like you because of it, yeah, you should be calm about it. But no woman in this world sees an attractive dude, doesn't think about him grabbing on her butt or rubbing on her back or fucking, making out with her and shit. Of course they do. That's the whole point. Like, this stuff's been around forever. Being a perv is only good when you're attracted to someone. But if you're not attracted to that person, being a perv is creepy and weird. Yeah. And men get offended by this just like women do. I mean, I had unattractive women like talk to me and that. I mean, most women are rather attractive looking. It's not like they're bad looking. They're average and maybe a little bit above average. There's a lot more average and slightly above average women than there is fucking, super attractive women. Because most women look good. They worry about their weight. Now, if they don't worry about their weight and they're fat, then yeah, you're not attractive. Sorry, you're just fucking fat. Means you're lazy, you probably smell bad, you got, you just don't want to take good care of yourself. Yeah, you got a vagina between your legs, and your shit's gonna start stinking. You start getting fat and obese and that, and you start saying, "I want to wash yourself," and that. You start smelling like fucking asshole. Yeah, that's fucking disgusting. But then sometimes women get kind of like this thing, and that because they say, "Well, women can get more sex. All women can do this thing." Yeah, women that are actually attractive. There is more attractive women than there are men. Men are not supposed to be attractive. Men are supposed to be strong and masculine. We're not supposed to be the cute fucking boy when you're fucking, young and that. Like when I was a teenager and that, I've been called cute or attractive many times. Does that stay with you? Yeah. It truly does. I'm 36. Same shit still happens. Face structure barely changed. It's got more muscles than that. That's it. But then when I see people that are not as anyway, I don't know why my puppy. Whew. It's toasty outside. I'm happy our garage door works now. But yeah, I can talk about this whole like what's happening in our world that between women and men. We're looking for looks. We're looking for attraction in the flesh so much. Now listen to guys and that have relationships and the way they talk. They say, "Oh, I'm for women that do." You really talk about having sex with women all day long. You have a girlfriend, dude. You don't respect women at all. Literally, you do not respect women. And they must say that they do. No. When you're you could be a pervert, but you're a pervert to one person. If I had a girlfriend, which I have before, that's the woman that I want to be a pervert to. I want to smile at, I want to grab and slap ass and play around with boobies and all that shit and that. It's only that person. These people don't look at it they don't look at it from the spiritual perspective. They look at it from the flesh perspective. They say, well, that girl's really hot and that, but what about this girl? If you threw 1,000 women in front of these dudes, they're like the hottest of all hottest. Maybe not even 1,000, just maybe 10. These dudes would be like a quagmire. They wouldn't understand. They would literally just probably just pop fucking boat. These girls would be butt ass naked. They had like the biggest, fattest titties and shit. And then these guys would literally go haywire. You know what mindset it is? That's a child, teenage, hornball mindset. These men haven't grown past teenage because they're obsessed with sex. And I mean, you see younger people that are kind of like this. They think that older people are like this because it's so good in that. And when I talk to younger people, they kind of we'll have conversations about just random stuff and that. you know, and something will pop up. One lady's work and say, you know, some guy was being, I guess, having an attitude and that. And she's like, oh, he hasn't been laid, and I said, not everything has to do with sex. And she's like, well, well, no, but like, you know, when people don't say, yeah, maybe for you, because you hate yourself, you know, when you just fight this negativity and that, you have sex to alleviate stress. Yeah, some older people don't know how to alleviate stress because they stay stressed out their whole entire fucking damn life. So you see people that lose their fucking hair and shit. They freak the fuck out 24/7. And it starts to poison their mind. But put it like this. This is how I live my life now. Now that I, you know, I'm pushing towards, you know, complete rebirth. Number one, I understand what Jesus is actually trying to say more. I don't understand completely. I understand more. I use it in my life. I try to perform acts that are, you know, more or less likely what needs to be actually performed. Come on, Zoe. Hey, baby. Oh, it's Ruby. Oh, Ruby. That's love, Ruby. Ruby, yeah. Get him, Ruby. Get to mama. But Zoe's still outside. Are you barbecuing? Oh yeah, but we got all the mud daubers and that. Yeah, the mud daubers tried to come in. But yeah, when you start looking like at the issues that we have in life, you really start to understand a little bit when you start reading the gospel now. You start to understand, you start reading what wicked people are, why they do the things they do. It's not like they want to, it's just that's the only thing they know. And that's what everything always comes down to. It's all about the knowledge that you know. If you don't know nothing, then how are you supposed to be proper, you know? How are you supposed to know how to do with life? You know, and that's one of the biggest things that, you know, we, as young people, we start to struggle with. You know, I consider myself young. When I see someone in like their 50s and that, you know, which I do occasionally now, or someone in their 40s and that, they're like, oh man, I wish I was 30 again, you know? But they say that not because they want to, they say that because they remember what they've been through. If there is no journey in life, life becomes absolutely fucking pointless. But when you create a journey, and it's a journey that we say like a long-term goal, like a fitness goal and stuff like that, you have to go through the journey. You have to understand what it is to keep on pushing through stuff. And not everybody understands that. Some people do more than others, yes, of course. People can argue about it all day long. But anyway, like going through what I was saying before, this one chick was talking about an old man that having an attitude and that, and she was talking about he needs to get laid. And like, and I'm thinking to myself, so every time you completely stress out like a fucking moron, I should say, well, maybe you need dick. And of course, if I say that, she'll, you know, probably would agree, but probably would get upset. I said, well, you constantly bring this stuff up. Yes, I think people need a release of stuff. The problem is we lack control of our minds more than what we think. Having a humble mind is really controlling how we do things. Like you can get mad and be angry and do emotional shit, of course. But you have to control certain things. Like I get mad when I fucking lose. That's been a thing. Well, I think everybody does that sometimes. But not all the time when I lose, I get mad. Sometimes I lose is because I'm not trying hard enough. I get lazy minded. And then I beat myself up over it, which occasionally, you know, happens. This ain't a win or lose situation. You're always gonna have a balance of in between of how you deal with emotions, how you deal with, you know, life. Just don't piddle dick around. Be guided. And look at the words of the wisest people that ever lived. And they all tell you the same thing. I'll tell you what they tell you. You live life with purpose. You live life with love. You don't live life with hatred. Hating someone takes too much time. It takes too much energy. Because you ponder about it. You think about it. Like, for instance, like, I used to do this when I was younger now. If I had a girl I really liked in that, I never had the balls to sit there and ask her out. And then I get mad because she gets banged by another dude. And it's not to say that she didn't like me. It's just I was too scared to confront her because I didn't like myself. I had this happen to me multiple times. I remember what happened in college. There was this one chick, you know, her name was Erica. That she had big, huge boobies and that. She was tremendously fucking attractive. Man, because her tits were huge as fuck. She had a thing for me. We grouped up together and that, and I didn't know how to deal with it. I was so fucking emotional. I was thinking, you know, if I think in my head that I need to do it, but it's like, well, what about this? What about that? What about? I thought about all the stuff in that. But then one of the guys that I knew that, you know, he's like, dude, just go up there and talk to her, bro. He's like, well, you go up there and talk to her, bro. It's like, you're more attractive than I am. And he's just like, no, she's turned on by you. She likes you. And now I start to realize that stuff. It took me forever. And I said, well, why did it come to be this way? Because it came to be this way because I was afraid and I didn't like myself. Because I always pin myself up against everybody else. I said, well, when you think about what everybody else is doing, you should worry about what you're doing. And that's what I do now. I worry about what I'm doing. I worry about my lifting. I worry about my diets. I worry about the fasting I do. I worry about the things that actually fucking matter to me. And when you get into that mindset and you start worrying about these things, guess what happens? You start worrying about the things that you need to do. Then you change. And then you grow. And you become stronger. And then you start gaining the confidence that you need to be able to perform these acts. You know, these mindsets that I see, you know, like I see, you know, young men, they want to get drunk all day. I see this multiple times. And like I listen to like an older man that does the same way, weak-minded, emotionally unhinged, basically a fucking moron. Then you listen to these people talk. I said, why do you want to do those things? You ask them a simple question. I said, well, it's always the same thing. It makes me feel good. I said, so if something makes you feel good, just change that something and just keep feeling good about something else. Get better hobbies. Go out and go for a nature walk. You know, communicate with God and that. Actually understand that He's never not been there for people. You know, understand the wisdom words of others that are actually trying. And I reach out to this, you know, this young man that I talked about. I said, no. It's like, and I joke with him about it, like, yeah, it's like, I never really got into drinking that, you know, and I didn't think it was anything that I want to get into. I think it's more of a controlling substance, just like anything else. And people really give into this stuff. It's like, once like I asked, it's like, why am I the way that? And I do none of these things, but you are the way that you are, and you do all these things. I said, maybe you should think about it. It's like, why am I the person that I am today? And I don't do any of that. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I try to stay healthy in that. I try to, I take my pre-workouts and I do take peptides in that now. But that doesn't really change the fundamentals of my mind that much. What changed my mind is understanding the truth, understanding wisdom, getting more intelligent. I only understood that because I read the Bible. I became more humble. The world is what God says it is in the Bible. I mean, King Solomon existed. There's proof of that. The most wisest person to ever exist. And his knowledge is passed down to us so we can learn from his mistakes. You know, people always want to be gangsters and that. You want to say that King Solomon was the biggest gangster. He had the most money, the most bitches to play around this dong all day long. He had a kingdom that was rich and famous, and that's what it was. And that's the whole learning aspect. He's done all these things, and he still didn't feel. He got all these things. Things that people been wanting for since forever. And guess what? He stopped caring. Hi, Zoe. He stopped caring. King Solomon stopped caring about the 1,000 concubines that he was plowing all the time. He stopped caring about the trillions and trillions of gold and silver that he all had. And that he stopped caring about all that, and he asked God. He's like, "Why don't I feel anything like I used to?" And that's when Jesus spoke. And Jesus told him. He's like, "All these worldly things don't fill the void that you have like I do." Why? Because a void means, well, eternity, basically. God's spirit is internal. It fills you with joy and happiness. And we'll put it in this perspective. The things that you do in your life they transform your spirit. So if you sit there and do bad stuff, you transform your spirit. If you don't get caught with bad stuff and be disciplined for things that you do wrong through the laws that are supposed to be balanced, but people take advantage of certain things. They always want to do, the whole like understanding of, certain things. Like I talked to one of the young guys, and he's actually starting to listen to me, starting to understand that he likes to research stuff. I said, dude, if you actually really want to understand life, go to the damn Bible. The Bible has every single thing that's been happening for thousands of years. It really tells you exactly, like kind of like Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Gomorrah is like Los Angeles. They say it's city of the fallen angels for a reason. They literally give you exactly that they're overrun by demons. That's why when you go there, the people are fucking demonic. They look weird. Their visions are demonized. It's not to say that they can't be healed. It's just the way their lifestyle is. They believe in this stuff so massively hardcore that they potentially don't understand what is actually out there, what is really true. That's why they always do propaganda. These people are always massively spoiled propaganda people. Just like Sodom and Gomorrah. They're very spoiled, very rich. They did a lot of fucked up shit. That's exactly what, these people do. These high-end actors and that. It's been told by the Epstein files and that. The Illuminati and that. People get too much power. They don't know how to use it right. So they use it for wicked ways. And they think it's okay. They literally think that their currency runs the world. They don't look at people. They look at people as peasants. They'll sit there like, well, I don't care. You work at fucking McDonald's or like that. It's like, ah ha 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 ha. I get royalty checks from like 500 fucking movies I've done or whatever the fuck it is. But they're always worried about their drug addiction. They're always doing all these things and that. And guess what happens? They fucking hate themselves. You get a lot of people that get old in that. And guess what happens? They all go to God. They all go to God. That's just how it is. People don't want to look at it from that perspective. All these heavy drug abuse rockers and that, they're all godly people now. all of them believe in Jesus. All of them. And that's what makes it really interesting. The most druggiest, satanic people of their time all believe in Christ now. And they talk about it. But that's what it is. Because they know that all the stuff they did didn't fill a void. So they went to God and they became humble. It's just how it is. Jesus wasn't lying about he is the truth and the way. People don't want to think that. So like I have conversation with this guy working at. He's a gay guy working at. He's pretty like he doesn't know what he wants to do. He wants to mimic what other people do. So don't fall in line with these stupid ass fucking people. Like he says, oh, I want to go club and that and be stupid. And like, what is that gonna do for you? That's not who you are. He's like, well, he says, well, you don't know who I am, and all this. He says this stupid shit. Like, dude, you literally are a fucking dork. Like, stay who you are. Don't change for anybody. If you got things you want to change for yourself because you want to get more intelligent, that's fine. But personality-wise, don't change your personality, because then you're just acting. Most people that go to clubs and dance, they do it for a release. They hang out with friends and stuff like that. Not everybody's like that. Not everybody relies on everybody else's emotions to get on with life. Some people do. Attention's good. You can do that a little bit, but most people don't. And you know what the biggest thing is? You don't need all that stuff. God's the only thing you need. You can have friends of that, yeah. But God's the only one that's actually there for you, 100%. Because He already knows when you're gonna die. He already knows how you're gonna die. You can change a little bit of stuff in that, of course. He already knows the stuff that you're gonna go through. Now, it is your choice to go through it in the Pacific way, of course. But if you believe in Him because He loves you, He may hate the things that you do, like sin that you do, but He hates all sin. He thinks it's, you know, it's unholy. Because God knows the true pleasures of life. We just don't. The true pleasure of life is not sitting there and being rich and famous. It's being love and compassionate. So the more love that you give yourself, the more God is with you. The more love that you give out, the more people start to see and change, because the Holy Spirit goes from one person to another person. Like, I start seeing people change because I speak the truth about them. I start seeing people change because I talk to them about certain things, and I want to get to them and say, hey, you know, it's like, just listen for a little bit. Wisdom's not meant to just keep for yourself. It's meant for others to hear. Anyway, I gotta get going now. Guys, have a good one, and God bless.